there an invitation sent to the senators last week for today's hearing?
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
President, April 24. Nabanggit kasi itong issue na ito, April 2. It was brought up by Senator Raffy Tulfo about this practice, no? So kaya ginawa natin, motu proprio inquiry in aid of legislation on the rights of patients to appropriate medical care, information, and informed consent, focusing on the prescription of medicines. Napag-usapan na po itong issue na ito noong April 2. It was brought up by Senator Tulfo at naging lumaki lang siya. Last week, it was mentioned sa interview yata ni Senator JB. That's why nag-issue po ang committee ng invitation, April 24 at 20? 24. 24 ang notice, and then yung mga
Duly received naman ng mga senators'
Yes, sir.
offices, Comsec? Yes.
Ayan.
Mr. President, with due respect, what was the notice for? Because from my understanding, the notice that was posted is regarding bullying in the, was it hospital setting? That was the notice we received. So it is very possible that a senator who is not inclined to attend a hearing on bullying would not attend, not knowing that there's going to be another topic taken up. I think that is the important point that we should be discussing, Mr. President. What is the point of a notice if matters beyond the notice are going to be taken up intentionally? Of course, kung nabanggit, and then the chairman, you know, on the side is, oh, pakituloy lang yung issue na yon. But to intentionally have a hearing on a subject matter that is not contained in the notice, and we have sometimes 6 hearings simultaneously going on, and we have other obligations, how would we know, Mr. President? How do we properly inform ourselves?
Yes.
Because that is the purpose of a notice, Mr. President.
You're absolutely correct. But to just give the proper information to the body, I have a copy of the Notice of Inquiry in Aid of Legislation of the Health Committee, and it's under sections, under letter C.
Yes.
Under letter C of its notice, motu proprio inquiry in aid of legislation on the rights of patients to appropriate medical care, etc., etc. So, it's one long paragraph. So, nabanggit naman doon sa kanyang notice. In other words, proper naman yung procedure
So
ng
pasok po
committee.
siya, Mr. President.
Pasok po siya.
Pasok siya sa rules natin.
Yes.
Salamat, Mr. President.
Yeah. Very clear. As far as I'm concerned, of course, I will not debate with my majority leader, but as a former majority leader myself, 3 times, I can see that the rules in this particular case were followed.
I think, Mr. President, it's also important to note that if it is happened during the hearing without being part of the notice given to the members with the 3-day rule,
Yes.
that's a different story, Mr. President.
Yes.
So, again, the speeches delivered yesterday were not referred yet, but we can
Refer them now?
dispense and refer it, Mr. President.
You can make the motion, Your Honor.
We can
Majority Leader.
do it now if...
No,
if
Mr.
if-
President, I understand, no? Unfortunately, I agree. I note that the motu proprio, the rights of patients is in the agenda, but the privilege speech, the 2 privilege speeches were not referred. So how would a senator know that that specific topic, and as mentioned by one of the sponsors, the complete set of officers were there? How would the senator know that that whole agenda would be covered today? Kung nadaanan, okay lang. But that whole topic was there. And even the sponsor was shocked that they were complete. It's a good thing he had decided to attend because yung buong scope ng kanyang topic nando doon. And then last point I'd like to raise, Mr. President.
It was the...
Under Rule 10, sorry,
Sorry.
would you like to?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Under Rule 10, Section 13, which is the enumeration of the powers of the different committees, subsection 2 says, on accountability of public officers and investigations. It says here, investigation of any matter of public interest on its own initiative or brought to its attention by any member of the Senate. So it is only the Blue Ribbon Committee, Mr. President, that has that phrase under its own initiatives. And for the 17 years that I've been a senator, I file resolutions in my own committee following these rules. Because my understanding is it's only the Blue Ribbon Committee on its own initiative. Of course, in a time of emergency, we are on break. Of course, we will not stop the Committee on Energy to have a hearing. Of course not. But what is the purpose of this on its own initiative under the Blue Ribbon Committee powers if everybody else can do it? Hindi ko po sinaswapang yun. E di palitan natin, let's amend. What is our intention? Because we just have to be clear about our rules. We are a institution governed by rules so that we can do our job properly. So I humbly submit that we submit these queries to the Committee on Rules
Yes.
so that they can discuss it with our legal, our luminaries, our experienced
Yes.
heads, and then properly guide us, Mr. President. Thank you.
But just for the record, we amended the rules of procedure governing inquiries of in-native legislation, Your Honor. And under Section 2, initiation of inquiry, it's very clear. It used to be, I recall, it used to be the Blue Ribbon Committee motu proprio. Actually, immediately, even not following the 3-day rule, pwede yun, diba? Parang immediate yung investigation on its own. However, we amended and strengthened the rules of procedure and added the Section 2. So, if you wish, we can have the Committee on Rules come out with the legal and the correct and final decision on this particular issue.
President, just a point of inquiry, Mr. President. Mr. President, yesterday, Senator Tulfo and myself delivered a privileged speech regarding the multi-level marketing scheme of a certain pharmaceutical agency named Belkens. And the majority leader has not referred it yet to any appropriate committee. And I heard that Senator J.V. Ejercito had a similar resolution that was filed and was not yet referred to the appropriate committee. And much to my surprise, Mr. President, the committee chaired by Senator Bongo heard conducted a hearing this morning and heard the privileged speeches of myself and Senator Tulfo. And again, much to my surprise, I was forced to attend the hearing because all the officials of the said pharmaceutical agency were present. And of course, I would also like to thank Senator Bongo for his appropriate action, for his motu proprio action in conducting the hearing right away. But rules are rules. May I know from the majority leader what did we violate any rule, the 3-day rule? Because we just delivered a privileged speech yesterday, and again, I was surprised why the stakeholders or shareholders of Belkens Pharmaceutical Agency were already present, Mr. Chair.
Hear the answer from the majority.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, the gentleman from San Juan is correct in stating that it is indeed in the Committee on Rules when you talk about the privileged speech delivered yesterday by Your Honor, Senator Estrada and Senator Tulfo. And in today's hearing, Mr. President, and I have with me the agenda for the hearing for today, conducted by the Committee on Health and Demography, I was informed that the basis of the hearing is letter C, motu proprio inquiry in aid of legislation on the rights of patients to appropriate medical care, information, and informed consent, focusing on the prescription of medicines, with the end view of assessing whether existing laws and regulations adequately protect the rights of patients to be prescribed with the appropriate and correct amount of medicines as treatment, and to determine and propose additional policies and mechanisms for their protection. So that was the basis, Mr. President, and I believe it is not, and the chairman of the Senate Committee on Health can correct this representation, that it is not about the privileged speech delivered yesterday by the gentleman from San Juan and the gentleman from Isabela and Davao. The gentleman from San Juan is also correct with our rules when he stated about the 3-day notice for its members in Rule 11, Section 22, Mr. President, on the third paragraph. Special meetings may be called by the chairman of a committee by 1/3 of its members, but notice, including the agenda, place, and time of the meeting, shall be given 3 days in advance to every member of the committee. So, Mr. President, I think it is clear, and unfortunately, I am not aware, Mr. President, this representation is not aware of who were invited in today's hearing, and rest assured, Mr. President, that we still abide and submit to the rules of the Senate. And
Nagdulot naman ito ng iba't ibang reaksyon mula sa ating mga netizens. Ayon kay @Joseph Tolero, buti na lang may matinong lawyer gaya ni Cayetano. Saad naman ni @user-HX8. Dapat kasi lawyers mga senators para may alam. Komento naman ni @Rogelio Madrid 7742. Sana ganyan kay Ma'am Pia mag-isip mga ibang senador. Anong sa inyo dito mga kapatid? Maaaring magbigay ng comment below.